Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Ankit Tomar and I'm the marketing manager at Vermeer Equipment India Private Limited. Vermeer is a leading manufacturer in trencher business. Today we are presenting Vermeer Open Trenching Solutions for water and irrigation pipeline presented by Aditya Gun. Uh, Before we start, if you have any question during the presentation, please type them into the question box in WebEx control panel. Mr. Praveen, we will be a moderator today, so bring them up during the presentation and we will also have time for question at the end. Now, without further delay, we will turn the time over to Aditya Gun. Aditya sir, please continue.
Praveen, you would like to go ahead with your...
Yeah. Hi, a very good morning to all. A warm welcome for this webinar on open trenching solutions for water and irrigation pipeline and projects through Vermeer equipment. Just to give a brief about Vermeer, Vermeer Corporation is a US-based manufacturing company started in 1948, having 4 different business segments. One of it's agriculture, mining, environmental solutions, and utility. We will be talking about utility equipments today, under which we will be doing the webinar. So utility, we have different models, which will be a good solution for this open trenching solutions against the conventional trenching method. In India, we are present from 1999 onwards through our dealer network, and now Vermeer Corporation has started directly in India, and we are a direct subsidiary called Vermeer India Equipment Private Limited. We have our corporate office at Chennai, along with a warehouse in Chennai for the spare parts and servicing at Manali. We have a support system for the technical support. We have different technical persons available posted at different locations as Delhi, Nagpur, Mumbai, and Chennai, and soon we'll be adding probably in Bangalore as well. So I'll just hand over to Aditya to continue the webinar.
Thanks, Praveen. Very good morning to all. I welcome you all to this Vermeer Open Trenching Solutions seminar for the water and irrigation pipelines. Just a minute. I'm sorry about that. Welcome you all to this webinar. Today we will be covering what Vermeer has when it comes to open trenching solutions. Before starting off, we would be covering like what is the current scenario in India as well as a lot of other Asian countries when it comes to working on the projects which involved digging or making a trench. So current situation, if you look at open trenching solutions, this conventional method is basically used pretty widely across Asian countries for any project. You want to dig something like dig a road, or you want to dig somewhere else for laying a utility or a power cable or anything like that, you use the conventional methods. While using these conventional methods, what happens or what we have observed is over the period of years, there's not much more focus given on the exact requirement of your depth of cut as well as the width of cut. When we say this, we mean that even if you're installing a utility, or let's say optical fiber cable duct, which is 40 mm in diameter, you make a trench of 12 inches. So you are actually installing something which is 1.5 inches or 2 inches, and you're making a trench of with 12 inches for that, which is way bigger than what your exact requirement is. Another thing which we do with the open trenching or conventional excavation methods is we keep digging the trench, and whatever the soil is being excavated, we keep dumping that somewhere. It can be either just by the trench being made, or it can be somewhere else. You basically make a pile of that soil, and then later you either remove it from the location or use it for some other purpose. So when Vermeer says that we offer open trenching solutions, what are the markets that we would like to serve? Is that we can cover irrigation project. Our products can be used for water pipelines, telecom cables, electricity, solar, as well as oil and gas segment. So that's kind of a pretty vast number of sectors which will be served or can be served with the Vermeer open trenching solutions. Today's webinar, we will be focusing pretty much on this particular product which you're seeing on your screen, Vermeer RTX 1250 i2 ride-on tractor. As you're able to see from the picture of the machine, there is an attachment on the back of the machine. There is an attachment in the front of the machine. And on the rear side, what you see is something we call it as a cutting chain or a trencher attachment. On the front side, the attachment everybody is familiar with, that's a backhoe attachment. So we will be pretty much covering the features of this particular model today. We do have other products as well. Depending on your project requirement, we can discuss and probably decide on which model would be suitable for your particular project. So just to give you a brief idea about what 1250, the various specifications, it's 3.8 meters long, 2.3 meters wide, and 2.9 meters height. The machine weighs about approximately 7 tons, we can say, and it's equipped with 127 horsepower Deutz engine. It has a fuel tank of 160 liters and hydraulic tank of 119 liters. When the machine is moving in forward direction, it can achieve a maximum speed of 16.4 kilometers per hour. Obviously, we don't operate at that particular high speed, but that's the capacity of the machine. Now, we will talk about the features and benefits of those features when it comes to this particular model. Before that, what you're seeing on the screen is various attachments we offer. From the picture, the first one is we call it as a sliding offset trencher with the quad tracks. The second one is a vibratory plow, and the third one is backhoe attachment. In addition to this, I will be covering a couple of other attachments in the later part of my presentation. So when we say the features and benefits, the first one is 3-post ROPS. By ROPS, we mean rollover protection system. So that's kind of a safety feature when your operator is working in the field. Although the machine is equipped and designed in a way that it can work on the uneven surfaces, unfortunately, if there is a situation or case wherein the machine topples, then this ROPS is the first part of the machine that will touch the ground, and thus your operator is going to be safe. So that's kind of an added safety feature. Another one we would like to highlight is intelligent attachments, I2 attachment. So when you're having different attachments on the machine, it is the operator earlier used to adjust the parameters, operating parameters as per the attachments. Now, with the intelligent attachments, the tractor identifies which attachment is there on the rear side of the machine, and then your setup time is basically reduced in this feature, and then you can start working right away. Trench sense is something, a trademark feature by Vermeer. It basically actively monitors the engine RPM and helps to keep your engine running longer. Any premature wears on the engine can be prohibited with this help of this particular feature. And the operator station, I will cover the operator station and all these features in detail in my upcoming slides. So to start with, intelligent attachment. So as I said earlier, the attachments, when the operator is actually wanting to switch between the attachments, that can be done pretty quickly, because the attachment, once you have, let's say, trencher attachment, and you have changed to some different attachments like a rock wheel attachment. So the tractor identifies that there is a rock wheel attachment, and then it is easier for operator to start working, because the parameters are already set, because tractor has already identified. So your setup time there is reduced, ultimately increasing your productivity. The operator station, the picture which you see here, it's pretty decent and a newly designed operator station. Earlier, predecessor of this model had a different operator station. This particular picture, you are seeing the operator station inside the cab. This cab option is optional. If you buy the cab option, you have the feature of having that with the AC as well as heater. And if you look at the picture of the operator station, all the controls are on the right side of the chair or operator's seat. So what happens is, if the operator rotates the seat, all the controls also rotate along with the seat. So it is easier for the operator to keep on using those parameters and switch between any of the operating parameters. These are controls from the closed view. The machine obviously is operated using a steering wheel for the direction. What you see in the picture is actually the bank of controls, which is on the right side of the operator. So if you look at these switches, and there are a lot of dials and all, although it looks pretty complex, believe me, this is one of the easiest machines I have seen and I've operated as well. It's not as difficult as it looks from the picture. All the controls, they rotate with the seat, and all the attachments, they can be operated using just this joystick and the keypad. So when we say that the controls rotate along with the operator seat, what happens is, let us say that you are working, actually digging a trench on the back of the machine, like rear side of the machine. So operator has to look back. So he has to have that visibility, what is going on behind him. So if he is not able to rotate his seat, he will not be able to do that properly. So we have given a 90 degrees rotation to the operator seat, and with that the controls also rotate. So the operator can easily look on the right side, which is the rear side, and then keep on operating the machine. The display, this is the display, we call it as PV540 display. It's a 5-inch display. It basically gives all the details that are important to the operator, which can be engine information, which is real-time engine information like RPM and everything. And this screen also shows some of the fault codes, like if anything goes wrong with the machine and the machine stops operating. So Vermeer service engineers, when they go to the site, they actually can figure out from the fault code which is being shown on the screen. So your diagnosis time, problem diagnosis time is reduced, and your breakdown time can be reduced as well. Productivity zone is another feature wherein the engine load range is basically recommended. So you have to operate within that range. So, and that also makes sure that you're actually generating maximum production for the amount of fuel you're burning. So this is one particular feature which is actually pretty helpful for the users. Trench sense, this is the feature I talked about in my earlier slide. This is a trademark feature by Vermeer. It's a basically control system. So what happens is this system monitors your engine RPM. And let us say that you're actually making a cut in a difficult ground conditions or harder ground conditions. So when you're cutting in a harder ground condition, and if there is some sort of a boulder or something, then what happens is there is sudden drop in your engine RPM. Engine stalls sometimes, and even the cutting chain also stops. So the tractor, which is moving forward, it pauses for a little bit, backs up a little bit, and then that allows your trencher chain to free up itself, and whatever the material is being stuck, that also gets dislodged. And then once the tractor is recovered to your earlier set RPM on your screen, whatever you have set earlier, then you start cutting again, and the forward movement again starts. So while speaking and explaining this particular feature, it took me about 45 seconds to explain this entire sequence of event, what happens when trench sense actually plays its role. In reality, it takes just 1 second. So you don't even realize that trench sense has actually acted and it has done its job. That's how fast this particular feature works. So that's one big advantage for RTX 1250. And what happens is if trench sense was not there, you would have required to go back to the controls, bring everything back to the neutral, restart everything. So you are actually stopping the operation in between. Here, that need for stopping or need for restarting the operation is completely bypassed. You're also avoiding any abrupt engine stops. So it is helping your productivity as well as the premature wears that can happen to your engine because of this abrupt stops. Those can be taken care of. Another feature is auto creep. This is the feature that basically monitors the RPM and adjusts the ground speed of the machine when you are actually operating any attachment. So again, this also helps you to prevent any premature damage on the engine. What happens is if you buy the machine, when our engineer comes for the commissioning, he will set the RPM range for the auto creep feature. And that allows your operator to keep on working or keep on operating the machine in that particular RPM range. So, and this can be changed by Vermeer engineers only. So that again gives you a confidence that your operators, sometimes if anything goes wrong, operators have nasty habits of changing something and uh, doing something with the engine machine and say that it's not working. So that particular thing is taken care because only our engineers can change this and keep it between the ideal range. So that's kind of a confidence for the machine owners. Then there is a feature called eco idle. What happens is it basically lowers the throttle. If the machine is stationary, it lowers the throttle to 1500 RPM. And once we start moving, it automatically raises the RPM to whatever is the set parameter earlier. So that basically helps you with the fuel consumption. It basically keeps your fuel consumption economical as much as possible. So these were some of the features that we covered. Now there's one more attachment I talked about that was called rock wheel attachment. So in addition to the cutting chain or backhoe or other attachments, the vibratory plow, this is particular attachment which we feel can be of a good use for Asian countries for the use of various projects like telecom and even the electrical cables. So this art, as you see from the picture, this is a wheel which is made up of steel, and on the circumference of this wheel there are cutting teeth, and you would be able to see some of the bolts as well. So those bolts are actually holding the segments, the teeth segments together. Those are bolt-on segments. So you can remove them once your segments are worn out and replace it with the new tooth segment. And we have various what do you call that, specifications for width and cutting depth as well, ranging from 4 inches all the way up to 12 inches, and the depth can go from 36 inches all the way up to 52 inches. So we are talking about approximately, let's say, 1.3 meter deep or 1.4 meter deep. So depending on your what is your width requirement, you choose the type of the wheel, and then you can keep working on your project using this particular attachment. Now, the cutting chain, which I showed in the earlier slide. So this is how the chain looks like. Again, the rock wheel, which I showed in my previous slide, it had cutting teeth on the circumference. Similarly, this chain also has the cutting teeth on it, which are either fixed inside the pockets, or the cutting teeth are bolt on to the chain. Depending on your width requirement and the depth requirement, we have a couple of options you can go for. The width can be 16 or 18 inches. We have smaller width options available as well, starting from 8 and 10 inches. And the depth can be up to 72 inches as well. So depending on your project requirement, your project specifications, you can choose what chain is suitable for your requirement. Now, when we say that these cutting chains are there, what I would like to highlight in my future slide as well, how different chains can be useful for different ground conditions as well. So we did almost a month-long project recently, wherein we had deployed RTX 1250, not the i2 one, but the predecessor of the this particular model. It's called only RTX 1250, not i2. Now everything has been changed and upgraded to i2. So we did deploy a 1 unit of RTX 1250 for this particular project. It was like almost like a month-long project, and we would like to present the data and the findings from that particular project, which will give you an idea about what this machine is capable of when it is actually put into the field. So you can see on the right side, this was the stretch where we were working. The white line shows the actual path of trenching. The machine had to do the trenching along this particular line. The project owner would come earlier in the beginning of the day, and they will do the marking, and our team would do the trenching later on. So during this entire almost like month, when we say month, it's almost like 27 to 28 days. We did cover about, we did trenching about 4,900 meters. So let's say roughly 5,000 meters, 5 kilometers. And the total time we required for this particular project was around 61 hours, 50 minutes. So if you look at that, then the average production per hour we observed was 80 meters per hour, and the fuel consumption was in the range of 18 liters per hour. Remember, this machine is equipped with 127 horsepower engine. The trench width and depth were 450 mm and 1200. So we were doing about 18-inch wide trench and 1.2 meter deep. Highest production we could achieve was 114 meters per hour, and lowest production was in the range of 67 meters per hour. Now, this is something you would be interested in looking at. This is how clean the trench looks like when you're working with Vermeer RTX 1250 trencher. If you look at that, this is the trench, and I mean, look at the quality of the trench. Look at how clean this is, and you're cutting pretty straight. After the cut has been made, the walls are staying pretty stable. All the soil which is being excavated is equally deposited on both sides of the trench. So that's kind of an advantage you see here. Now, obviously, some people would like to know that how this cutting tooth they perform when it comes to ground conditions. So before that, this is the picture. Like once you make the trench, you put in the pipeline in that. You just lower it down inside the trench, and then you're done. So this is the picture showing the extreme left picture, which shows the cutting chain, which is brand new chain before we could even start trenching. Then on the middle picture, you see the condition of the cutting teeth after completion of 1,000 meters of work, and on the extreme right, you see the condition of the teeth after 2,000 meters of work. Now, do remember that the middle picture, which shows it has a different type of teeth. We have written sharp type. That's a type of teeth we call, and the other one is cup cutter teeth. That's a different cut as well. So usually when we receive an inquiry for this kind of machine or a project, we usually would like to request from the customer the geotechnical data of the project site where you are working on. When we say geotechnical data, it's pretty much about what is the rock hardness at that particular location, because uh, anybody can say that it's a hard rock, but when we say hard rock, it can be anything. So we need to know the exact values, like in case of megapascals, how much is the rock hardness there, and then based on that data, what we do is we suggest you a different type of cutting teeth, which will be suitable for that particular soil conditions and will be much more economical and more productive for your particular requirement as well. So while we were on this project, we did come across with some of the hard ground conditions as well. And we decided that let's go ahead and test the machine in the harder ground conditions as well. Although this was not part of our project, we decided to give it a go. And we did work about 915 meters, so approximately around a kilometer of work. And that took us 13 hours to complete. The production, what we came across was 70 meters per hour. So here we are seeing a little bit of drop because of the harder ground condition in production per hour. The fuel consumption obviously is increased because it's a harder ground conditions. You're operating the machine at higher pressure, higher engine RPM as well. So, and the trench depth was similar, 1200 mm, the width was similar, 450 mm. Your highest production we achieved during this stretch was 87 meters per hour. And the lowest production we came across was around 55 meters per hour. So after finishing this particular two stretches of this project, wherein the width was 450 mm, we decided that we would test it for one more type of specification, wherein the width of the cut was increased from 450 mm to 700 mm. So we went from 18 inches wide trench to 27.9, or let's say 28 inches wide trench. So when we were doing before that, this is how the hard soil trenches look like, the similar kind of clean trench which you saw earlier with the soft soil as well. And this is what I was talking about. So what we did was we increased the width by another 300 mm or 250 mm. So we did not do this with one single pass. So what we did was we made a trench in one pass, which was 18 inches wide. And then we did another pass of trench or cut, another cut on the side of the earlier cut, which was made. And then, so what happens is when you're making these two trenches along the side of each other, the wall in between, or the soil which is there in between, it falls back inside the trench. So we do have something called as trench cleaning attachment at the end of the chain there. So what it happens is while the machine is moving forward, it keeps on cleaning the trench along with it. It keeps on carrying that whatever the remaining soil with it, so that your trench is clean. So we had to do that and extend the cleaning plate by another 250 mm. So we only tested it for about 50 meters. We spent about 2 hours to do that. So average production was 25 meters per hour. And fuel consumption was in the range of 18 liters per hour. So pretty much the same what we saw earlier as well. Only change was the width of the trench was 700 mm. So if you look at this, the quality of trench you're making, the production you're making, I would like to highlight, I mean, we are moving towards the end of the presentation. The highlights of the advantages of the Vermeer trencher over conventional excavation methods. So we call it as trench only what you want. Like earlier, when in my first slide, I said that the conventional methods when you're doing that, even if you're installing something 2-inch or 4-inch diameter, you're making a trench of 10 inches, 12 inches at least, which is, we see that it is unnecessary. Here, you let us know the depth and width, whatever is the requirement, and we would offer you something which will be exactly offering that, or something that will go closer to what your requirement is. It will not be very way away from something what you're looking for. So when we say that you're trenching only what you want, it also gets associated with the cost of your project, because you're cutting less. At the same time, you're refilling less as well. So your refilling cost is also saved on this. Then second advantage which we offer is continuous trenching as compared to dig and dump. So with the conventional excavation methods, what happens is you're digging and then you're dumping that soil somewhere else. You finish your trench, you lay your utility, and then you are gonna have to refill your trench. Now, when you're refilling your trench, you have to again pick up the soil which was excavated earlier and dump it inside the trench. So this whole operation, or the sequence of dig and dump and then pick up and dump, this whole sequence is actually pretty time consuming. In case of Vermeer trencher, you see continuous trenching. Your soil is getting deposited on both sides of the trench. And we have a separate attachment called as a refill blade, which once you finish your trench, you finish laying your utility, what you do is you just position the machine in proper location on the side of the trench, one side of the trench, lower your refilling blade to the ground level, and start pushing the soil which is already excavated inside your trench. You finish that on the one side of the trench, go to the other side of the trench and do the same operation. So your refilling is also pretty fast. Instead of picking up and dumping, you're actually just pushing the soil. So that is you're doing it faster. So again, there is some cost reduction on that as well. The biggest advantage is clean trench. When you do the excavation with the conventional excavation methods, there are chances that your trenches will not be as clean as what you saw earlier. It will not be as even as what you saw with the Vermeer trenches. So that's the advantage we have here as compared to the conventional excavation methods as well. And then obviously the productivity, like in case of conventional excavation, you saw the figures of production in case of Vermeer trenches. In the soft soil, we were ranging anywhere between 80 to 100 meters per hour. And then in harder ground conditions, we were ranging between 50 to 70 meters per hour. And even if the trench is a little bit wider, you are still not losing a lot on your productivity. You are still getting 25, 30 meters per hour, which is considerable. So just to give you a little bit of another advantage, which I have not mentioned here, is the attachment which we offer. It's on the rear side of the machine. It's basically mounted on a shaft. It's an hydraulically operated attachment. So you would have seen earlier, I said something called a sliding offset trencher. So when I say sliding offset trencher, what I mean here is you can slide the attachment to any location, like on the shaft, you can position it on the extreme left side of the shaft, or the center of the shaft, or the extreme right side of the shaft. So even if you are on the road and you want to make a trench a little bit on the side, that will basically help you with this sliding offset trencher as well. So and also the machine being mounted on the tracks, it also allows you to work on the uneven surfaces as well. So and one more feature we would like to, the attachment I did not show, is reel carrier. So in the front, I showed you the backhoe attachment. So instead of that, you can go for the reel carrier attachment, wherein you can mount your reel of your cable or whatever, and then direct it to the back of the machine. So when you're making the trench, after making the trench, you are laying your utility right away. So after you finish that, you will just have to uh, refill the trench. That's it. I think that's it from my side. Do you have any questions? You can write your questions in the question box or comment box. Ankit, could you pass me any questions if there are any?
Yes, sir, I will. If you have any question, you can write in the chat option. I will pass to Aditya.
I would like to share the picture of a reel carrier with you. Just give me a moment. I will have to stop sharing this and then show you the picture of how the reel carrier looks like. I'm just pulling up the data, just working on it. Yeah, I'm just showing you. So if you see here on the right side, I've just pulled up our website, vermeer.com, where you can go and see this attachment. So this is the reel carrier, which is on the front of the machine. On this particular shaft, you can actually mount your cable reel or something like that, and then pull it on the back of the machine. And then you're making a trench and installing the utility as well. And there are different attachments you see here. Rock wheel is there, vibratory plow, sliding offset trencher, backhoe. So this is the variety of attachment we have on offer for our customers, which will help you to basically work on your project and then achieve maximum productivity as well as cost saving too. Any questions there? I think we don't have any question. Praveen, you can take over.
Thanks, Aditya. So to all the attendees, if you have any questions, you can put onto the chat box, or you can get touch base with us or Mr. Ankit for any further queries or any clarification needed. So with this,
Yeah,
we
Praveen,
may
go ahead.
with this we may conclude our webinar for today, and we look forward for many of the sessions and webinars in future as well, and we will inform you on a regular basis. Ankit, anything to from your end, please?
Yeah, Mr. Blue asking some question. I'm unmuting
Yep.
you, Mr. Blue. Just give me a second.
We have any questions, Ankit?
Not yet. Hi, Mr. Blue. Do you want to ask some question?
Yes, sir. Yes. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, somebody was speaking.
Yeah, Mr. Blue, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
You can directly ask questions, sir. We have unmuted you.
Okay, sir. Unmute, sir. Unmute. Hello.
Yes, please, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Yeah, morning.
Sir, what about the underground utilities already as existing?
Right. So in this case, if you want to work on the city limits wherein the utilities are already there underground, in this case, you will have to do a survey of.
Aditya, we lost you.
Hello.
Hello, Aditya. I think moreover to your question, yeah.
I'm back, Praveen. I'm back.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, actually, I had a power cut, so I had to switch between my internet connection. Sorry about
Right.
that. So,
Okay, okay,
what
sir.
happens, if you are working on this kind of project, you will have to do the survey of the project, sir, earlier. The location where you are working at, you will have to do the
Okay, sir.
survey of that site and then
Okay, sir.
locate those utilities, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mhm. I think it is difficult to execute in infra-cities, sir. I think.
You can do that. We have a smaller model of this particular machine. Like we have something called as RTX 550, which is
Okay, sir.
being used extensively for the optical fiber cable. So the way this particular machine is used is we have sold this machine to Reliance as well. So they do the
Okay.
survey before. After they do the survey, they mark the location of the utilities. So utilities are not going to be continuous along your stretch. So you basically
Okay.
keep cutting wherever the utilities are not there. Wherever the utilities are marked, you pull up your wheel, move the machine forward, leave that patch particular, and then start trenching again. So that particular patch where the utility is located, that can be done manually later. That's how everybody works.
Okay. 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 Okay, sir. Hmm. Sir, is this mission work in some this one, sir? Soil, loose soils, not loose, too much loose, somewhat in rainy conditions.
Yeah, it should be fine. That should not be any problem.
Okay. Okay. Okay, sir. Hmm.
Right.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you to Praveen, sir. Anything
No
is there, I
problem.
will be in touch with Praveen, sir.
Sure,
Sir
no
will be
problem.
always touch with us.
Sure, no problem. That's good.
Okay. Okay, sir. Okay.
Any
Okay.
other
Hmm.
questions?
No, 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 sir. Hmm. Anything is
Ankit,
there, I
any
will
other
confirm.
questions?
Okay,
Okay, there's some
right then, as
there question from Mr. Yeah, please.
go ahead, Arvind. Okay.
We have a question from Mr. Sudesh Saha, how we can find customer for Vermeer.
How, sir, the customers for us would be pretty much like the whoever are the contractors or even the project owners, like telecom companies, electrical cable laying companies, and the contractors working for them. They can be our customers, and we can sell our machines to them for their particular project. Is that what you mean by your question, or you meant something else, Mr. Shah?
I think he is satisfied. If you have any further inquiries or you want to know more about the Vermeer franchise, you can visit our website www.vermeer-india.com, or you may email us at vermeerindia@vermeer.com. Over to you, Aditya sir.
Right. Thank you all for joining. I think we have covered pretty much everything related to this. We do have other models like horizontal directional drills. We have another segment of machines called as environmental segment, wherein we sell brush chippers. We also have machines for the surface mining. Mr. Praveen takes care of environmental segment, and we have Mr. Tariq Salman who takes care of our bigger machine segment, which is surface excavation machines. So if you have any queries or if you need any details about any of the Vermeer products, do visit our website. Our website has all the details about the project. You can reach out to our toll-free numbers, and if you have any inquiries, feel free to get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to help you in future. With that, I conclude this webinar, and once again, thank you all for joining. Thanks.
Thank you.